Turn 1 Soul Ring.
Nice.
So when does Modern Horizons 2... When does it come out, by the way?
June 11th.
June 11th. So I guess we'll be doing a set review on that pretty soon.
June. Yep.
Right around the corner. Halfway through the year.
No kidding. We're already getting
Counterspell.
We're already getting spoilers. We're not even finished our Strixhaven coverage. Yeah, Counterspell is legal in Modern.
Woo!
and according to Eric, it's impossible to find on any online store right now.
There was like some like newer like foils and like the mystical library ones that are in foil that you could pick up.
Right. Yeah.
But most of the other ones are just like zeroed out.
Yeah, and didn't it get a like a double masters borderless printing? Or I might be wrong on that.
I feel like it did.
Yeah,
I think it did.
I think it did. So yeah, there's definitely
I closed my Scryfall. What's wrong?
Some new ones float. Yeah, we're about to start here. Well,
no, it didn't.
oh, okay.
We got Masters 25 Mystery Booster. Oh, Commander Legends. That's what.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. Yeah. So they're floating around there, and I mean those foils are going to be. I don't know if those are going to be tournament legal when the time comes. Just the foils. The regular ones are fine.
Those foils are gonna be so curled.
Yeah, they're gonna be bad. Well, let's save our Modern Horizons chat for a later date, like our set review and
like when Modern Horizons comes out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the show, everybody. This is Turn 1 Soul Ring. I'm Kevin.
Hey, I'm Eric.
And I'm Riley.
And today we're giving the new cards from the Strixhaven Commander decks the set review treatment. Like all our other set reviews, this one will not be exhaustive. We also won't be talking about the decks themselves in too much detail, which means that we won't be going into the reprints found in these decks either. That's something we've done a little bit more in the past. But also, the reprints in these decks, there's not a whole lot there to be excited about. So no big deal. We are going to be going through the cards in order of the deck lists that they came in. The deck lists themselves, like in no particular order. For example, we're starting with Silver Quill and ending with Quandrix. We're going to start off today with the face commanders of each deck, and then we'll get to the new cards in each deck. So just like all our other set reviews, we're just going to be talking about the cards that we looked at them and they gave us a thrill, basically, is how we do things here.
Woo!
Yeah, that's the sound.
Speaking of like reprints, Ray of Replication. I'm done. There we go.
Oh, is that's in the Quandrix deck?
Yeah, it's good to see that card reprinted. So
I did also like to see in the Lorehold deck that 1,000-Year Elixir is getting reprinted. That's nice. What did you say, Riley?
Alhamrat's Archive.
Oh yeah,
that one's getting reprinted. Oh, that might actually be in the Witherbloom deck.
Yeah, I think it is. It is. Yeah. So there definitely are some. There definitely are some good ones, but
those are our top picks.
Yeah, I haven't heard really anybody complaining about the lack of good reprints, and I think that's more of a sign of the community accepting more of what these products are supposed to be, rather than expecting them to be vehicles for reprints. So that's nice, because at the end of the day, these are for new players. These are for getting new players into the game, and I think this product in particular is for more enfranchised Commander players, as opposed to the 2-deck Commander sets we've gotten this past year, but still
straight up different product.
Yeah,
like this is tailored for, like, this is still the Commander set. Mm-hmm. So we get a bunch of new cards and stuff. Like, this is definitely that tailored for Commander player kind of thing.
Yeah, and more than reprints, what we expect from this product is the 15 to 17 new cards per deck that we get for this format.
Yeah, and like, I know we say it all the time, but it's like, can we get some better land bases? I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe if we keep saying it'll happen, but
like, they don't have to go overboard here. Like, I mean, yes, they are continuously putting the pain lands in these decks, which is nice, but
put the battle bond lands.
Yeah,
and stuff,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
It's made for multiplayer.
put-
Let's just
exactly.
do it.
Put them in.
Yeah.
So before we get to our first commander, Eric is going to tell you all, the listeners, how you can find us and get in touch with us out there on the web.
Out there on the interwebs, we're on Instagram at Turn 1 Soul Ring the Podcast. You can also email us, turn1soulringthepodcast@gmail.com. We're throwing everything up on YouTube. Best way to find us is Turn 1 Soul Ring the Podcast. And last but definitely not least, if you really like what we're doing here, we have something called a Patreon page. So check us out, patreon.com/Turn1soulring. We got a lot of cool stuff over there.
Check it out. Check it out.
What are you doing? Check it out.
Check it out.
So we're gonna start with Brina the Demagogue today. It's, I want to say she, but I think that's just because of the ending with a vowel. That's more of a feminine thing when it comes to names.
Brina.
But then we have Riley, and Riley has the vowel ending of his name, and he's a guy.
Yeah, what a bitch.
No, I'm just kidding. Whatever. I'm just being silly. I'm just...
Well, the name is also very close to Bruna, which is a female angel. So
Yeah.
you're like, oh, kind of the same thing.
Yeah. And the wings, I think there's something there. Also in the
Oh, yeah.
art, it looked like all the little things around its bird head. It almost looks like it's dressed up as a flower or something. It's kind of silly.
Okay.
It's another one of those owls with hands.
Yes, and wings.
Which I don't have an issue with.
I'm sort of more in Riley's camp in this thing. I definitely get it. So Brina is 1 white black for a 1/3 legendary bird warlock with flying. Whenever a player attacks one of your opponents, if that opponent has more life than another of your opponents, that attacking player draws a card, and you put 2 1/1 counters on a creature you control. So when they first spoiled the 5 flagship commanders of these decks, I'd say this one was the one I was the most interested in because it creates a situation where you're going to make different decisions than you would normally make in combat. And and I like that. I love Edric. It induces combat, and that's what this does a little bit too, with that little added detail where you have to think about other players' life totals. And no matter what, if players are attacking that player with the higher life total, not necessarily the highest, you're still going to get those counters, even if you're not the one attacking and drawing the cards. So it's very, very interesting, fun card. I definitely would like to build around it.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely has that Edric kind of feel, but notably, it's nice that it's only like one trigger.
One card. Yeah, one. Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't like, turn into this flying men like extra turns deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, super political. It's always fun to like encourage people to attack people, especially if it's somebody other than yourself. So yeah, it's pretty spicy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I like how the ability is worded. So it's like, if we have the 3 opponents, there's like someone at 40, 30, and 20. You can still attack the person at 30 and still get the trigger with how it's worded.
Yeah, because it's just interested in opponents.
Yeah, and it's not like you have to attack the highest life total. It's one of them has to have lower or higher than... It has to have higher than one of the other ones, yeah.
The next one is Zaffy Thunder Conductor. It's 2 blue-red for a 1/4 legendary human shaman. It has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, scry 1. If that spell's mana value is 5 or greater, create a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token. If that spell's mana value is 10 or greater, Zaffy Thunder Conductor deals 10 damage to an opponent chosen at random. That's a misprint. This is a famous misprint. Like there's not that many of them, but this is a fun one. They're always fun
for sure.
A big whoopsie.
Definitely for a spells deck, this is a very interesting card because the bigger spells for casting does more things. Getting out just like a 4/4 token off of your spell on top of whatever else it does is like really good value. So obviously making this deck, you're going to have some sort of mana hungry. You're going to need to put a lot of artifact ramp and stuff in there. But You could do some cool things with this.
Yeah. And it just cares about, the CMC of a spell. So if you had something like, like Fires of Invention, and you're casting those 2 spells for free, you're still going to get those tokens, and you don't necessarily have to spend mana on them. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, I think more often than not, you're probably going to be shooting for that CMC of 5, or I guess mana value of 5, instead of the 10. I think 10 is a little bit reaching
10
for the
is
stars.
difficult.
Yeah. Like, obviously, I think that the precon itself has a few X spells that, can help you get there, but there's not too many instances or sorceries that are 10.
Yeah.
10 or greater.
Definitely.
So
I don't even think I could name one.
Time Stretch is 10 mana.
Yeah, and there's Apex of Power, I think, is in the precon as well. That's 10 mana.
Yeah, right. But you're definitely right, and I think that's maybe why they made it a little less enticing by making it an opponent taking the 10 damage. That opponent is chosen at random. If it was target opponent, I think that you would want to get to that 10 or greater a lot more often. So
Would it suck if it was any target at random? It's
yeah,
like
for your opponents, it would suck.
Just hit Zaffy.
Oh, damn it.
Okay, next up we have Willow Dusk Essence Seer. It's 1 black-green for a 3/3 legendary Dryad Druid. You can pay 1, tap it, choose another target creature, put a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the amount of life you gained this turn or the amount of life you lost this turn, whichever is greater. Activate only as a sorcery. Very cool
Only
ability.
as a sorcery.
Yeah, that's lame, but
yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool to see a card that cares about
Life loss?
life gain or life loss in the same ability. So I think it kind of speaks to what this deck is intended to do. Gain a bunch of life, lose a bunch of life.
Yeah, using life as a resource.
Yeah, just go get some necropotence going on or something.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good include. Triple black. Next up we have Oscar. The Reconstructor.
Let's call him Oscar.
Oscar the Reconstructor.
Look, there's a garbage can in the background.
He's 2 red-white for a 4/4 legendary giant artificer with vigilance. You can pay 1, sacrifice an artifact. Target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. And you can pay X, tap, exile an artifact card with mana value X from your graveyard. Create 2 tokens that are copies of the exiled card. Activate only as a sorcery. There's definitely some, in a singleton format, getting 2 copies of an artifact can be pretty spicy. I'm sure there's quite a few combos you could get going with this as your commander.
Seems pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you're able to get an artifact land or even a Mind Stone in the graveyard, just being able to make 2 copies of that out of the graveyard is pretty nice way to ramp with Boros, which is not something you see every day.
Yeah.
For sure. Ditch a mana crypt and then just
duplicate
that. Yeah.
Now you're speaking my language. Yeah.
That's a steep upkeep cost though.
Fine.
It's also a 4-mana 4/4 with vigilance, so you can still attack, keep it up as a blocker, and you can only activate that ability as a sorcery, so it's not as good, but I think it's on theme here with the only activating abilities as a sorcery in the set.
Yeah, but at least the top ability, that's just a sack outlet, and we can do that whenever we want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's always nice. That's always
works
nice
pretty well with itself. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, our last flagship commander here is Adrix and Nev Twincasters. It's 2 green-blue for a 2/2 legendary Merfolk Wizard. It has Ward 2. Whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays 2. And if 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created instead. So it's parallel lives on a stick that also protects itself a little bit.
Yeah.
Gotta pay extra. Gotta wait a little longer to remove this.
Yeah, I'm just as an aside, I'm a big fan of Ward. I think it's a nice space to explore as opposed to like something like Shroud or Hexproof, because obviously it throws in a few hurdles, or it's a little bit of a disincentive for people to be targeting it, but it doesn't like outright remove the ability to do so, right? Like it keeps the game somewhat interactive still. So,
yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, I do like that.
Super fun. Like keeping a parallel lives in the command zone is going to be a lot of fun to just poop out a bunch of tokens.
Definitely, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna move on to some of the cards in the Silver Quill deck. We're starting off with Author of Shadows. It's 4 and a black for a 3/3 Shade Warlock. When it enters the battlefield, exile all cards from all graveyards. Choose a non-land card exiled this way. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that spell. So we've seen this kind of targeted graveyard removal in Commander many times, and it's always something to consider when building a deck. For the meta that you play in, I always try to fit in a Scavenger Grounds if I can. But what is really great about this piece of removal is that you get a little something extra with it. It's not just like a Bojuka Bog or a Scavenger Grounds. In Scavenger Grounds case, you just lose the land. Or, like a Rest in Peace where it just sits there and doesn't really do anything. But by the time you're going to be casting this, there's probably, by turn 5, there's probably going to be something in a graveyard that you're going to want to take and cast. And so the floor on this is, I think, pretty good. And as the game goes longer and graveyards fill up, there will just be something potentially better in a graveyard. The only change I would make to this, because of those examples I just gave with Scavenger Grounds or I'm at a loss for other things that can exile graveyards at instant speed. But anyways, what would be nice if they would have given this flash, so that if somebody is like, hey, I'm going to use my Scavenger Grounds, and like, okay, well, I want to cast my Author of Shadows in response so I can get something that I've had my eye on in somebody else's graveyard. So that's my only nitpick with this card. Otherwise, I really like it.
Yeah, it's got those Gaunty vibes.
Yeah.
Being able to take their toys.
Yeah. Okay, next up we have Combat Calligrapher. It's 3 and a white for a 3/3 bird cleric with flying. Inklings can't attack you or planeswalkers you control, and whenever a player attacks one of your opponents, that attacking player creates a tapped 2/1 white and black Inkling creature token with flying that's attacking that opponent. Yeah, the cards like this are generally not in my wheelhouse, but they always seem really fun to play. This sort of reminds me of that card from, I think it was last year's Commander set. It was like a green card. I think it was an elk, and it kind of, I think it was able to attack opponents when it wasn't your turn, like it would be under your control, and it would kind of mess with combat like this. So this card's just really interesting from that perspective, that it's putting creatures into play, attacking other players, on your behalf when it's not your turn. So I just think from that perspective, it's a really cool design space.
Yeah, I mean, 2/1 flyers, they're reasonable threats. Like, I mean, I guess like one of the challenges with having that protection on a body is obviously Combat Calligrapher is a little bit vulnerable, but that's the risk you take for playing a political game like that, I guess.
Yeah. Cunning Rhetoric is next. It's 2 and a black for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent attacks you and or one or more planeswalkers you control, exile the top card of that player's library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. I like the card advantage that this potentially provides, but it's one of those cards that feels a little too out of my control to be reliable. I'd rather just have like Harmonize or something. But
I don't think you want to see this card as like card advantage. I think it's just like another deterrent, like Ghostly Prison or something, right?
Yeah. You know how? Okay, so like if you know how like when you draw cards, people are like, "Oh no, he's drawing cards. He's becoming a threat," right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you draw your opponent's cards, they're like, "Oh no, he's becoming a threat and he's playing with my toys."
It's doubly bad.
Like,
yeah.
People aren't gonna go for that. So like,
no, not a chance.
I think unless it's like a killing blow or doing some serious damage, like this will probably do what I think it's intended to do, and that's kind of like make them look the other way.
Yeah, right. Like me losing a card just for attacking you, I'm not gonna do little pot shots and stuff here and there, right? Like I don't want to be losing that many cards.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, this is a really great like defense enchantment, I think.
Feign the Broker is next. It's 2 and a black for a 3/3 legendary creature, human warlock. You can tap it to sacrifice a creature, put 2 1/1 counters on target creature. Tap it to remove a counter from a creature you control to create a treasure token. Tap it to sacrifice an artifact to create a 2/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying. And you can pay 3 and a black to untap Feign the Broker.
He's really intriguing because of the untap.
Yeah, just the colon. Yeah, if you have, and it's not that hard to get loads and loads of mana, just in mono black, for example.
Oh, totally. So if you have some sort of like sacrifice mono black deck, like I think this card fits in super well, being a sack outlet, and also you can do more with it. Like you can, in a way, like mana, get a little bit of extra mana out of it as well and stuff. So.
Yeah, kind of interesting. It reminds me of like a trading post style of effect.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So like I'm sure there's some fun stuff you can do with it, and just like having that flexibility. Like if you're running like a black based like artifact creature deck, like maybe just having that sacrifice a creature or sacrifice an artifact will like be relevant. I don't know.
Felisa, Fang of Silver Quill is next. She's 2 white-black for a 3/2 legendary vampire wizard. She has flying and mentor. And in case you forgot what mentor was, it's whenever this creature attacks, put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power. And whenever a non-token creature you control dies, if it had counters on it, create X tapped 2/1 white and black inkling creature tokens with flying, where X is the number of counters it had on it. So this is the secondary commander in the Silver Quill deck, the new one anyway. The rest are well, there's like Feign is a new one, but this is in the colors, and it's a legendary creature and it's new.
Yeah, like I really like her just for like caring about the +1/+1 counters and getting a lot of extra value out of that.
It seems to be a recursive theme like lately is caring about creatures that have counters on them dying.
Yeah.
The one thing that really frustrates me about Felisa here is she has flying, but her art does not look like she has flying whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's just like one of those flavor issues I have where, if she was floating in the air and everybody was looking up at her, is like, yeah, she has flying. She's a vampire, right? But
yeah,
she's just like strutting on the ground. It's like, who would look across the battlefield, look at that creature and say, oh yeah, she's a flyer, right?
Well, yeah, and it's also broad daylight.
Well, oh my god.
That's true. Yeah. I didn't even think of that. It's funny.
Yeah. then of course, like just talking about like the art thing, there are other cards that have this kind of thing, right? Like there's the oh god, I closed my thing. What the hell? We're good. Like Nylia, she has a bow but she doesn't have reach. Like what's going on?
Yeah. Or like like Master Symmetrist in the base set of Strixhaven is a rhino that for whatever reason has reach. It's like, why does this rhino have reach?
why does that rhino have reach? Like what's going on?
Guardian Archon is next. It's 4 white for a 5/5 Archon with flying. As it enters the battlefield, secretly choose an opponent. Reveal the player you chose. You and target permanent you control each gain protection from the chosen player until end of turn. Activate only once. So the owl in the art of this card is, I think, more what Riley is looking for.
Yeah, that's the kind of owl I'm looking for.
But that's a real owl.
Well, it's a giant owl.
It's a giant owl, but it's like Brina is, like a humanoid owl.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. So, I don't really have anything to say about this card except that I've always liked that they pepper these secretly choose a player cards in Commander, in these dedicated Commander products. They never seem to find a home and see continuous permanent play, at least in the games that I've played over the years, but maybe eventually they'll make one that will. But I like that they're still doing this kind of thing. It's just kind of fun.
Yeah, and there's some nice little shenanigans you can do with this. Like if you're in a blink deck and maybe there's a player at the table that is clearly the biggest threat, and they could easily turn their creature sideways and knock you out of the game. So choose them, protect yourself for a turn. Then it comes back to you, blink it, choose them again, and just kind of like soft lock them out of killing you. That would be kind of a nice way to kind of build a little pillow fort for yourself.
Yeah, actually, I never thought of that, but like this creature in a blink deck seems pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, well, we have a winner. Incarnation Technique is next. It's 4 and a black for a sorcery. It has Demonstrate. This is our first Demonstrate card. So when you cast the spell, you may copy it. If you do, choose an opponent to also copy it. And you get to mill 5 cards, then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield.
To the battlefield.
Boom. That's what you want to see, baby.
Yeah. And I could see a situation where there's like a spell slinger at the table, and so you copy this spell and then get them to copy their spell. And there's good chances that you'll get 2 really good things back, and they might get something that's like kind of like ho-hum.
Hopefully, yeah. And hopefully they'll be upset about it.
I hope. Like the only time I'm casting this is when I think they'll be upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I do like the Demonstrate cycle as a whole, and we'll get to the other cards shortly, but as far as the cycle goes, this is probably my least favorite of them all. I just feel like, I don't know, I'm thinking of Victimize, Victimize being 3 and a black, sack a creature, bring out 2 creatures from your graveyard to the battlefield, and that's a great card, but it's 3 mana, right? And this is
and it's an instant, is it not?
It's
a sorcery.
No,
yeah,
they should make it an instant.
They should just errata it to an instant. But 5 mana, I don't know. In Commander, it's I guess you're milling 10 and returning 2, but I don't really want to be leaning on milling 10 to make me want to cast a reanimation spell.
Yeah, and I think in the decks that this card is really going to work well in and synergize well in, it's going to be great, but I don't think that is going to be a lot of decks. So, yeah. Next up, we have Ink Shield. It's 3 white-black for an instant. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to you this turn. For each 1 damage prevented this way, create a 2/1 white and black Inkling creature token with flying. So, talk about there are lots of fogs in the game. I'm a big fan of Constant Mists, especially in lands decks, but I even run it in my Yisan decks for those tough times. But talk about a fog that pays you back. It is 5 mana. Don't love that, but the snapback with this could be devastating.
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna use this in a scenario where it's gonna count, right?
Oh yeah, so yeah. It could be game, it not necessarily game winning, but the snapback could kill the opponent that was about to kill you.
Yeah, 100%. I could definitely see this coming down to one of those games where it's all down to that attrition style game, and they've got a more dominant board, and they've knocked out 2 other players, and you're the last one standing. And they do an alpha strike and swing out, and you cast Ink Shield and just snap back and kill them. So yeah, it's super cool. I'm a big fan of it. Reminds me of Arachnogenesis.
Oh yeah, that card desperately needs a reprint. It's like $20.
Yeah.
Also, if you got that like Voltron player at the table, they're like, "Oh yeah, here comes 16 commander damage." You're like, "Nope, I got 32 power in the air now."
Exactly.
What are you
How
gonna do
about
about
32 coming at you?
Keen Duelist is next. It's 1 and a black for a 2/2 human wizard. At the beginning of your upkeep, you and target opponent each reveal the top card of your library. You each lose life equal to the mana value of the card revealed by the other player. You each put the card you revealed into your hand. This card's pretty cool. It's like obviously it's a lot like Dark Confidant, but that's some pretty solid card draw. And like if you are losing, you could just do it randomly and you don't necessarily know what you're going to get. But if you know an opponent is playing a deck with a pretty low to the ground average CMC, and let's say yours is relatively high, you can also use it that way. So I think this card is definitely going to see a fair bit of play in black decks.
Yeah, play it with some big chonkers.
Yeah, that's a fun way to play this card, because then like your deck's gonna be hurting the other player a lot.
Yeah.
But I think like a Bob for 2 people is kind of an interesting card.
Yeah, and it kind of makes it kind of reminds me of like Scheming Symmetry. They print these cards that are sort of like reprints of I guess I'll say more powerful cards, but they're printed for a multiplayer format, and I always like when they do that.
Yeah.
Nils Discipline Enforcer is next. I almost said Disciple. He's got a nice beard. He's 2 and a white for a 2/2 legendary human cleric. At the beginning of your end step, for each player, put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature that player controls. Each creature with 1 or more counters on it can't attack you or planeswalkers you control unless its controller pays X, where X is the number of counters on that creature. It's a pretty cool ghostly prison propaganda type effect. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty unique. You can slowly, and it's like also buffing your opponent's creatures as well, right? So again, this is playing around with trying to get your opponents to attack other players.
Yeah, that aren't you.
Yeah,
yeah. It kind of reminds me of Orzhov Advocist.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where that one's putting 2 counters on a creature and it can't attack you the next turn. But this is, kind of like a nice blend of, it affects all +1/+1 counters, so it doesn't even have to be put on there by Nils.
Yeah, if someone else is just doing a +1/+1 strategy, they're like, oh crap, I can't pay 6 mana to attack with this creature.
Oh crap.
Yeah. So interesting card. I think it's it's better in the 99 as opposed to as a commander. I think it is played as more of a ghostly prison kind of effect, but in those decks it's more vulnerable than an enchantment. But I think it'll see play. Promise of Loyalty is next. It's 4 and a white for a sorcery. Each player puts a vow counter on a creature they control and sacrifices the rest. Each of those creatures can't attack you or planeswalkers you control for as long as it has a vow counter on it. I think we're all pretty excited about this board wipe. It's easy to cast. It's just 1 white. It makes your opponent sacrifice creatures, so it gets around a lot of those tricky abilities that makes creatures sticky.
Yeah, that's right.
And you don't have to worry about any kind of snapback. You don't have to worry about your opponents who are probably going to rebuild before you because you cast the big bad board wipe. So it covers all the bases.
Yeah, I absolutely love this Wrath. I think it's so good. Like, I really think this card's really powerful. And then it protects you again. Like, yes, they get to keep it, but it's like they need to remove a counter somehow to make it attack you. So
yeah. It's a nice way to remove the threats for you, but leave some threats behind for the rest of the table.
Yeah, and the flavor text line is I think would be a good catchphrase for this show. It's us against the world forever. No, I'm just kidding. We appreciate each and every one of you. Okay, next up we have Scholarship Sponsor. It's 3 and a white for a 3/3 human advisor. Whenever it enters the battle, or when it enters the battlefield, each player who controls fewer lands than the player who controls the most lands searches their library for a number of basic land cards less than or equal to the difference, puts those cards onto the battlefield, taps, then shuffles. So I think I've established a reputation where I outline how I don't like these cards, and that's normally true. And there's another card in one of the other decks that I think is more is close to a home run in this the white ramp arena. But I feel like this one does kind of like has the potential to even the scales. I like that it's each player. I like that the lands go immediately into play. It really does even things out. So I think, white, the color of blinking. You just blink this if things get out of hand again, and then you're back on top. So this card I think definitely has potential. So I'm sure people were expecting me to hate this card, but I think it has the legs to get some work done.
Yeah, and I think this is a nice, friendly group hug.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you could look at it as group hug, or you could also use it in like your own land shell, where like you're sacrificing lands for value and then like slamming this and then catching right back up, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, get some Zernorb
that's a cool way
action.
to look at it.
Yeah, exactly. Zernorb. That's what comes to mind. So like, cast this with this on the stack, sack all your lands, then like I don't know, use a spell to bring back all of your. Ooh, I think there's a spell called is it Planner Rebirth? It's in white. Yeah, Planner Birth. So 1 and a white for a sorcery. Put all basic lands from all graveyards into play under their owner's control tapped. So, like, nice. You could do like a mono white lands.
That's a cool card.
Yeah.
I bet it's cheap too.
It's $4.
Oh, okay.
Not too bad.
I'm surprised. Yeah, very that would be a lot of fun. Next up we have Stinging Study. It's 4 and a black for an instant. You draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the mana value of a commander you own on the battlefield or in the command zone. A lot of pictures of hands. You guys notice that? There's a lot of hands. And like hands are fine, but like I'm not a hand guy. I'm not a foot guy. Whatever you're into is fine, but it's just like they do nothing for me. Anyways, I think this card again easy to cast. 1 black pip, and I think in a deck that has a commander that has a bit more of a hefty casting cost as opposed to this deck, which is 3 mana. This card could be pretty sweet, but in this deck, I don't really like it. I think, anything less than like 5 mana, 4 or 5 mana, I don't really like it. Like CMC of your commander, but I will say I do like that it has that eminence type of clause where it can be on the battlefield or in the command zone. That's really, really nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And like if you have at least a 4 CMC commander, I think you should run this card.
Yeah, I think that's like the minimum.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I really want to do it at 3.
Like if you're running like a Bellatrix Witherbloom, like pay 5 mana, draw 7 cards. Like that sounds like fun.
Sounds like fun to me.
The artwork reminds me of Contract from Below, just that like demon hand.
yeah.
I'm giving you a poke.
A poke.
So the last card in the Silver Quill deck we're gonna talk about today is also in all the decks. They usually do this with the Commander products, at least they have in the last few years. And it's Study Hall. It's a land. It taps for a colorless mana, and you can pay 1, tap it to add a mana of any color to your mana pool. When you spend this mana to cast your commander, scry X, where X is the number of times it's been cast from the command zone this game. I like that they had to put this game on it. They don't put.
I've cast my commander 100 times.
They don't put mana to any color to your mana pool, but they feel the need to put this game. I just whatever. I think this card is has potential. I don't have a burning desire to run it in any of my decks, but it kind of reminds me of Opal Palace, which is a it also filters mana, but it puts a 1/1 counter on your commander for each time it's been cast from the command zone. And this just gives you a scry. It also kind of makes me think of Path to Ancestry, the land like this from Commander 2017, where you got to scry every time you cast a creature that shared a creature type with your commander. So I think this is it does kind of fix you, and it also gives you a little a kind of quasi card advantage, but you need to have cast your commander at least once to get it going.
I mean, it would count the first time you're casting it, right? Because it only triggers when you cast your commander. So the first time you cast your commander using this ability, it's gonna let you scry one. So,
I think this is also it's not as narrow as what Opal Palace is, because Opal Palace you kind of want to have a commander that cares about 1/1 counters, but this kind of I think is better in more decks, so it's fine.
And you could make the same argument for Path of Ancestry that this is better in more decks, because Path of Ancestry is it lends itself to tribal decks.
Yeah.
So I think this. I think people are going to be playing this. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see in a year to 18 months, and we can play Paper Magic again. So moving on to
it'll stay in my deck for our league for a few games.
Yeah, no, it's not coming out. It's not coming out first, though. I will eviscerate the mana base or the land base up top. Although that being said, I feel like the ramp package in a lot of these decks is pretty decent. Like a lot of 2 mana ramp spells, and that's what we always advocate for.
Yeah, with the exception of the Lorehold deck, which they gave lockets and signets, or they didn't give signets to, which was kind of weird, but I don't know.
Yeah, it was a strange choice. Maybe they did the locket because they thought, well, you can copy it, or bring back copies and then sacrifice them to draw cards. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was one of the designers was on Casual Magic and talking about how Lorehold, I guess, was lacking in card draw, so that was kind of the form of card draw they put in there, was to put it on the mana rocks, which is not really what
we gave you a locket.
Yeah, I don't really want my mana rocks in my graveyard.
Oh man. So moving on to the Prismari deck here. First up we have Creative Technique. It's 4 and a red for sorcery. It has Demonstrate. And you shuffle your library, then reveal cards from the top of it until you reveal a non-land card. Exile that card and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost.
This is cool.
Yeah, this is definitely way better than the black.
Well, yeah, in Prismari, you care about casting spells, so this is not only copying itself, but also casting additional spells. So, super cool way to just kind of essentially cascade into more value for Zaffy.
Watch, I'll do it, and then I'm gonna hit one of the X spells for sure.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
God damn it!
Every time.
Every time.
Well, it's like the Saheeli's Expertise.
Oh my god!
Whenever you cast Saheeli's Expertise, it was always what the hell?
I know. Seriously, it was 3 or 4 times with that card, and I got nothing. I was like, "That's it. It's coming out. No more."
It looks so good on paper. Next up, we have Dazzling Sphinx. It's 3 blue for a 4/5 Sphinx with flying. When it deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile an instant or sorcery card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then that player puts the exiled cards that weren't cast this way on the bottom of their library in a random order. I don't know how good this card is in Commander as a whole or in this deck in particular, but I'm definitely going to try this out in my Unesh Sphinx tribal deck, because with Unesh, with Unesh on the battlefield, this is a 3-mana 4/5 with flying, and it draws you a free spell, so why not?
Yeah, this thing looks hella fun.
Yeah,
that's what I think. Like, it looks like a really fun card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you'll always get something, even if you don't want to cast it. You don't, it exiles until you hit something. So that's nice. Yeah, and it looks like it's trying to give something a hug. I think the art's kind of a miss, but a
very aggressive hug with its claws.
Yeah, it looks like it's about to fall over.
Yeah, actually, I got I finally got all my my C21 and Strixhaven pre-order cards in the mail a couple days ago, so I was just slotting all the new cards into my various commander decks, and this was one of them. So as soon as they lift these restrictions, I'm gonna bust out Unesh on you guys.
There you go.
Next up, we have Elementalists Palette. It's 3 mana for an artifact. Whenever you cast a spell with X in its mana cost, put 2 charge counters on Elementalist Palette. You can tap it to add a mana of any color to your mana pool, and you can tap it to add a generic mana for each charge counter on it. Spend this mana only on costs that contain X. Some of the templating in this set is just, what were they thinking?
Well, like,
I think this card is really cool though, because it is just a mana rock for 3 mana that has upside if you have X spells in your deck. So
definitely,
it's really cool that you get both of those tap abilities.
Yeah, for sure. And I appreciate the route they're taking with 3 mana rocks. It's like, if it used to be that, like, Manolith was the best option you had for a 3 mana rock, right? And now it's kind of this space where 2 mana rocks are kind of where you want if all you care about is ramp, but the 3 mana rocks give you a little bit of extra value as well. So it kind of makes it a little bit more of an incentive to consider running these 3 mana rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like if this only had the second ability. Ugh.
Oh, that'd be horrible. But if you're running Hydras or if you care about X spells, like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Fiery Encore is next. It's 4 and a red for a sorcery. Discard a card, then draw a card. When you discard a non-land card this way, Fiery Encore deals damage equal to that card's mana value to target creature or planeswalker, and it has Storm. So whenever you cast this spell, copy it for each spell cast before it this turn. But it's a sorcery, so it's always going to be your turn.
Yeah. This card's interesting. Like, I understand why you can't hit a player. I just wish I could.
Yeah.
But
don't we all?
But you could get to a point where you wipe a board with this. Like, and if you have a deck that's caring about instant sorcerers in the graveyard, like it can be an interesting way to get like 4 or 5 cards into the graveyard while also like killing stuff on the board.
Yeah, I mean the fact that Storm is making copies of the spell, like, it works really well with Zaffy. So
yeah,
I mean it's definitely right at home in being in this deck, right?
It's 5 CMC, so you're getting a 4/4 for every Storm copy.
Yeah, exactly.
Woo!
So good value there. It's definitely, I think, like on its face, it's probably one of the more fair Storm cards, because there's only so much you can discard for slugging somebody or as somebody's creature, right? But
yeah.
Inferno Project is next. It's 6 and a red for a 0/0 elemental with trample. It enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it, where X is the total mana value of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard.
Holy crap. Like, holy. This thing is insane, I think. Because it's like you add up the total CMC of all the cards, and it has trample. Usually a card like this would not have trample on it, and you're like, okay, it's fine. But it has trample.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like it hits the battlefield. It's 7 mana, so it's a notable investment, but like it's gonna be a thick boy. Like that's definitely, if it sticks around for that turn, it's definitely gonna end games.
Or even if you have like a haste enabler.
Yep.
Yeah, which is
attacking this
is uncommon. Yeah. Inspiring Refrain is next. It's 4 blue for a sorcery. Draw 2 cards. Exile Inspiring Refrain with 3 time counters on it. And it also has Suspend 3 for 2 and a blue.
Yeah, like this whole resuspend thing is part of an old cycle. So it's kind of just an interesting play on suspend.
Yeah.
It's also cool that you can suspending this on turn 3 and then, turn 6, just getting to cast it what you would have on turn 6 is pretty good.
Yeah, it's just like as the longer the game goes, the more value this is just going to incidentally provide you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, of course, again, with Zaffy, it's a 6 CMC spell, so... Or Zaffy.
Is it Zaffy or Zaffy? I can't remember. It starts with a Z.
I think it's all up to the motion of your ocean.
Yeah. It ends with Conductor Collector.
Conductor Collector, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, this is just in a singleton format, this is repeatable value. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting card at the very least. Muse Vortex is next. It's X blue for sorcery. Exile the top X cards of your library. You may cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value X or less from among them without paying its mana cost. Then put the exiled instant and sorcery cards that weren't cast this way into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
This is a neat card advantage card, I think. It's not obviously we have X draw card spells. Mm-hmm. But this is also letting us cast one of those for free, so I think it's kind of interesting the way it's worded.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought too, because Blue Sun Zenith, right? He's just sort of Stroke of Genius. But yeah, this is a little something extra, and I like that because you spend your whole turn drawing cards and then you pass, but with this, you're actually getting to feel like you're doing something.
Yeah, you get to cast one of them. But of course, the other downside is that you do only get the instant sorcery cards you find in your hand. So
yeah, but in the right deck,
I think it's good.
You're gonna get a lot of stuff, unless it's like a Saheeli's Directive situation, and you just hit lands or something. I don't know. So next up we have Octavia Living Thesis. It's 8 blue for an 8/8 legendary elemental octopus. That was a slip of the tongue. This spell costs 8 less to cast if you have 8 or more instant and or sorcery cards in your graveyard, and has a ward 8 and Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, target creature has base power and toughness 8/8 until end of turn. Love the art on this card.
Oh yeah.
How many tentacles does an octopus have?
It's 8.
8.
Oh, okay. Just checking. I couldn't remember.
It's like octagon, 8 sides.
Yeah, no. That is really cool how everything on this card is an 8 for an octopus. It's got some good flavor there.
Yeah, every single section has 8 in it.
Yeah. So that's really, really cool. And I want to cast an 8/8 for 2 mana. That seems pretty good.
Yeah, with essentially hexproof. Who's paying an additional 8 to kill this thing?
I would have paid 9 to swords your Octavia. It's
exactly.
No kidding.
Well, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, target creature has base power and toughness 8/8 until end of turn. Just make all your dorks into thick boys.
Radiant Performer is next. It's 3 red for a 2/2 human wizard with flash. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, choose target spell or ability that targets only a single permanent or player. Copy that spell or ability for each other permanent or player that the spell or ability could target. Each copy targets a different one of those permanents and players. Whew, this seems complicated.
Yeah, you started reading it and I got lost.
You can just lightning bolt everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, this could be fun to do a kill spell that only targets opponents, a single opponent, and then you're aha, got you all.
Yeah, or like, would this work with a
it's
you
kinda
know, if
like-
you had like a, let's, for lack of a better example, like a goblin go wide strategy and using this to copy a combat trick that targets one of them, like that could work there as well. It sort of reminds me of Zada Hedron Grinder.
Yeah. It's definitely very reminiscent of Zada.
Yeah, well, like even like I think there's a card. I think it's like Expedite or something like that. Just a red for, might be an instant. Just target creature gains haste and draw
like
a card.
Expedite,
So like just cast that, cast Radiant Performer, and then gives all of your opponent's creatures haste, but of course draws you all those cards too. So I imagine that's kind of what they're going for, is kind of like this mirror wing dragon kind of effect, or the Zada kind of effect.
It's like draw like 8 or 9 cards. Seems good.
Reinterpret is next. It's 2 blue-red for an instant. Counter target spell. You may cast a spell with an equal or lesser mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost. So this is kind of
another hand.
Yes, it is another hand. And you know what? After looking at all these hands, I think it's starting to do something for me. So this is kind
of a very pretty hand.
This is kind of it's probably that I hadn't seen the right hand,
There you go.
So this is kind of like a really shitty mana drain. It assumes that you're going to be able to cast something at instant speed when you counter the spell that you're countering. And I think it sounds really good, and I read this card and I'm like, oh, that's perfect. All the value. But how often are you in a position to take advantage of it? That's my concern with this thing.
It's a fair point.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's cool.
Like, I mean, yeah. Like, if you're looking for a splashy counter spell and you want to hold up 4 mana for the rest of your life, like,
but I would rather run like that that 5 mana drain that creates tokens from from Ixalan. Like, I would rather run run that.
Yeah. Well, you could just and you could do like there's one that it's like Overwhelming Intellect. That's like 4 blue. You counter the spell and draw cards equal to its converted mana cost. So you could just do like a whole deck based around big dumb counter spells.
Like I instantly thought of like, cast just make sure you have like a Chemist's Insight or something in your hand.
Yeah, sure. Like there are going to be situations and you're running a lot of instants, but it's funny. Some cards I look at them and I think like the worst case scenario, and some cards I look at them and I only see the ceiling. So I'm not some paragon of knowledge when it comes to evaluating new cards here, even though that's exactly what we're doing. Next up, we have Rionia, Fire Dancer. She's 3 red for a 3/4 legendary human wizard. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create X tokens that are copies of another target creature you control, where X is 1+ the number of instant and sorcery spells you've cast this turn. They gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step. Okay, you want to?
Sorry, I'm like rereading the card after you read it again. Like,
yeah, I know. Like, I'm trying to understand what. Okay, another target creature you control. Okay. Yeah, you get the enter the battlefield effects. Like,
actually,
that could be pretty fun. It's kind of an interesting take on like a spell slinger / like into the battlefield.
And you always get one at least, right? Because it's 1+.
X plus the number.
Yeah, so you're at least getting something every turn as well. Yeah.
So like, if you want her at the helm, then you could do like a mono red enter the battlefield spellslinger deck, which is kind of interesting take.
Italy.
Yeah.
Oh man, get like the legendary clause. No.
Yeah. Just run Mirror Gallery.
Mirror Gallery, yeah.
There we go. There we go.
Problem solved.
Next up, we have Rousing Refrain. It's 3 red for sorcery. Add red for each card in target opponent's hand to your mana pool. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. Exile Rousing Refrain with 3 time counters on it, and it has suspend 3 for 1 and a red. So notably, you will lose mana that's generated other ways beyond Rousing Refrain's mana generation, but you won't lose the refrain's mana. So just, don't let this card just like blow your dick off all at once, because I had to reread it a couple of times.
Yeah.
I think 5 mana, like the hard cast of it, is a little expensive.
Well,
it might be fine.
Yeah, it depends, right? Like there's all those reliquary towers and thought vessels running around.
Yeah. It might be fine. Like, even if it's generating a couple mana, like, maybe that's all you need to make a big play that turn. But I think more often than not, like, you're probably looking to suspend it and set up a big turn that way.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, like, did you guys notice the art? Like, they're having like a music battle with each other. Like, if you go back to the blue version of this spell.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought they were just playing music.
No, it's like blue versus red.
Blue. Yeah, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Fun Easter egg.
Yeah.
Next up is Sly Instigator. It's 3 and a blue for a 2/4 human wizard. You can pay a blue, tap it to until your next turn, target creature and opponent controls can't be blocked, goad that creature. I don't know if we've ever seen goad and can't be blocked on the same card, but I'd really like to see more of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
Super cool. I love goad.
Mm-hmm.
Goad is like one of my favorite multiplayer mechanics.
Yeah.
I think it's like right up there with Monarch.
Disrupt Decorum, one of my favorite cards. I love casting that in my Zancha deck.
Yeah.
Is goad your goatee?
It's my goad too.
Is goad is your goat? Oh boy.
Veyron, Voice of Duality is next. It's 1 blue-red for a 2/2 legendary Efreet wizard. It has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And if you casting or copying an instant or sorcery spell causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so moving on to Witherbloom, we have Blossoming Bog Beast. It's 4 and a green for a 3/3 beast. Whenever it attacks, you gain 2 life. Then creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn.
Definitely has a high ceiling.
Yeah.
For the Witherbloom deck. And it being like also a 5 mana effect that's giving everything +X/+X and trample is a pretty nice spot to be at.
Yeah, that's right. It is all creatures you control. That definitely could be spicy with all those little pests running around.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Gain 5 life. Now you're like, oh, I got a bunch of 6/6s with trample on turn 6. It's like, oh, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, and I mean, like, at its baseline, like, it's essentially attacking for 5 and gaining you 2 life when it attacks, right?
Yeah.
So, good value.
Essence Pulse is next. It's 3 and a black for a sorcery. You gain 2 life. Each creature gets -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gained this way. So I'm a big fan of those, those black board wipes that care about the number of swamps you control or the number of snow lands you control, like you know what I'm talking about.
Like Dead of Winter.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is a similar thing, but you really do get to decide what is going to be removed, because ideally you're going to be able to control how much life you gain. With something like Dead of Winter, it's like, well, I could play the land that I have in my hand this turn and hit one more power or toughness of creature, or I don't play the land. I just feel like there's more flexibility and more control in this particular deck and in life gain decks in general with this particular board wipe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ezerut Channeler is next. It's 5 and a green for a 4/6 Treefolk Druid with Reach. Creature spells you control cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. And then you can tap it to gain 2 life. That's nice. Just working with itself.
Yeah, so like I mean, just being able to like play a bunch of big fatties and then get a cost reduction across the board. Like at its minimum, you're reducing the cost by 2, but I'm sure you have other ways of gaining life that turn. So pretty spicy card.
Yeah, and 2 is like, you know, 2 is quite substantial. We think about the medallions in monocolored decks. You know, those cards often see play because they can, you know, they reduce your spells of the appropriate color by 1. Like the difference between 1 and 2, like we've talked about, I think in our Strixhaven set review with the 2/1 Inkling creature tokens is enormous.
Yeah, and it
really is. Yeah,
scales very well with X spells as well. Like, you know, like a stone coil serpent or other hydras, right? Like if you just gain a buttload of life, then next thing you know, you got a big chonker on your battlefield.
Chonk.
Yeah, it's great. It's great for the hydras. You can be casting Eldrazi, like.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of chonk, if you want to have a good laugh, go on YouTube and look up the Saturday Night Live sketch called Chonk. It's pretty good. That's all I'll say about it. Next up, we have Gaiom Masterchef. It's 2 black-green for a 5/3 legendary troll warlock. It has trample. At the beginning of your end step, create a number of food tokens equal to the number of non-token creatures you had enter the battlefield under your control this turn. And then you can pay 1, sacrifice a food, target creature gains indestructible until end of turn, and tap it. I just put this card on the list because, you know, obviously it's doing what it wants to do, and that works well. But that extra clause, that activated ability to just protect your creatures, I just love that kind of thing.
Yeah, huge. Yeah, it basically turns your creatures into trolls, and I definitely love the flavor of this card.
Yeah. Yeah, he's sacrificing food. He's cooking food. You know, he's definitely, yeah,
delectable.
Like it a lot. Healing Technique is next. It's 3 and a green for a sorcery. It has Demonstrate. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. You gain life equal to that card's mana value. Exile Healing Technique.
Yeah, this one, I mean, like, it's... Remember that 3 and a green card from Eldraine that I think it had, like, Adamant or whatever, that, you know, you could return basically up to 2 cards from your graveyard to your hand. Yeah, like it's another one of those effects, except you're also, if you're choosing to bring 2 things back to your hand, you're also giving your opponent the choice to bring something back to their hand as well. I'm not huge into it. I think Regrowth and like Eternal Witness, like those are kind of the effects that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And I think it's mainly based around their CMC and the ways that you can use them.
Yeah, and that's why I put it on the list to showcase those cards that I think are just more solid options most of the time. You know, like Regrowth, or even what's the one green Phyrexian mana one called? That puts it on top of your library.
Like Noxious Rebirth?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like that kind of thing. So yeah, I just wanted to, like Riley, you pointed out perfectly that, you know, it's like there are just better options than this, and the amount of times when you're gonna want to copy it, I think are few and far between. But like a couple of other cards we've talked about, in the right deck, probably a group hug deck, this card is great. But I think Demonstrate lends itself more to that kind of strategy more than you know what each of these cards is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Marshland Bloodcaster is next. It's 4 and a black for a 3/5 vampire warlock with flying. You can pay 1 and a black to tap it. Rather than pay the mana cost of the next spell you cast this turn, you may pay life equal to that spell's mana value. I saw this card and I immediately thought of Crick. Like, I think this is, I mean, and to what we were talking about earlier, that nothing about this card depicts that this vampire would be able to fly.
I know. What's with all these vampires just standing still
or crouching in this case?
Like what? How is that flying?
But this is fantastic, and if you can untap this, like, you know, we always look at these cards and we think, well, I have 40 life, but like I think this is a solid card. It is 5 mana, but it's definitely going to pay you back, and it has a big butt.
But even like comparing it to Phyrexian mana or Crick, that's 2 life per mana. This is just equal to the spell's CMC.
Exactly.
So you're like, Yeah, you're like, oh, 6 for a 6/6, like that works. That's nice.
Even, I mean, I would consider slotting this into Crick if it had more black pips, but there seems to be a very there seems to be a theme here with this set, and with the there aren't a lot of colored pips. And I think this is just another, I sort of sound like a conspiracy theorist here, but it's sort of like the last, at least since we started this podcast and probably a little bit before that, it's like they've been pushing Magic in the direction where players never, they're trying to make it so players rarely to never have a feel bad experience. You know, cards like the MDFCs are a great example of that, but you know, just all these 1 pip mana cards, and these are only 2 color decks. So it's just something that I've noticed. But next up we have Pest Infestation. It's XX green for a sorcery. Destroy up to X target artifacts and or enchantments. Create twice X 1/1 black and green pest creature tokens with, when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. The pests are so cute.
They are very cute. I don't like the math that it's making me do here. It's like, all right, I'm gonna put 4 mana into this X, so it's X equals 2. So I'm gonna destroy 2 target artifacts and our enchantments. Now I got a double 2, so I'm back at 4. Like, why do I have to jump through all these hoops to figure out what this card is make me do?
Yeah, it's just common core, buddy.
It's just doubles and halves, Riley. Come on.
Yeah, I'm not even good at math.
But yeah, like I think like being able to like the second part of it where it is doubling the tokens, I think that makes the mana cost worth it. Because having to pay like an extra 2 mana to destroy 1 extra artifact kind of sucks. But you are getting a lot more of the pests on there. So
yeah, definitely.
It makes the card like more okay.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Revival Experiment is next. It's 4 black green for sorcery. For each permanent type, return up to 1 card of that type from your graveyard to the battlefield. You lose 3 life for each card returned this way. Exile Revival Experiment.
Hell yeah.
So
I think this is pretty good.
Yeah, and in this deck, obviously, you know, with the face commander losing life isn't a big deal. But even in a deck where you don't have an ability to gain the life back, I think this is a solid card.
And it's also like just 3 life per card instead of it being like the card CMC or something, right?
Exactly.
Like, which could be way more detrimental. Like you're just getting back whatever you need.
Yeah, and I love
also the art is wicked.
I was just gonna say that, like it reminds me of like that Samurai Jack style art.
Oh, nice.
Like I just love it. It's fantastic. Sproutback Trudge is next. It's 7 green for a 9/7 fungus beast. This spell costs X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. It has trample, and at the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, you may cast Sproutback Trudge from your graveyard. This is very sticky.
Yeah, like definitely, it's so easy to get this card back because you're obviously going to have it in a life gain deck. Like you're gonna need an opponent to exile this thing because if you can keep casting it, like it's like a 9/7 isn't anything to shy from.
And trample,
and it's got trample.
Yeah.
I really want to run this with like Greater Good or like is it Monumentous Fall or Momentous Fall or something like that?
Something like that. I know what you're talking about. The listeners do too.
The 2 green instant, you sacrifice the creature, you draw cards equal to its power, gain life equal to its toughness.
Yeah.
So like that in itself would let you just replay it for green. Yeah. And then
you drew a bunch of cards.
Draw 9 cards.
Yeah. That's pretty sweet.
So that would be pretty fun. This guy kind of reminds me of Hogak. Gives me Hogak vibes.
A little bit. Yeah. Oh god.
Tivish, Gloom Summoner is next. It's 4 and a black for a 4/4 legendary human warlock with lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, you may pay X life, where X is the amount of life you gained this turn. If you do, create an XX black demon creature token with flying.
Make yourself a thick boy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, really using that life gain as a resource.
Yeah, it's like if all you have going on is this, then sure. But it's like it just seems like there's a lot of better ways to be using
your life.
Your life.
Yeah. Trudge Garden is next. It's 2 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 2. If you do, create a 4/4 green fungus beast creature token with trample. That's pretty good. Two mana for a 4/4. That's, once you get that life gain engine going, that's I think this card could create a lot of tokens. And it's whenever you gain life. If you have the mana, you can just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Vine Witch Coven is next. It's 2 and a black for a 3/3 Vampire Warlock with Menace. Whenever you gain life, you may pay a black. If you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. I would just love it if this was an enchantment. This really feels like an enchantment to me, but they made it a creature, so it's much more vulnerable to removal. But I think this card is just fantastic. That is a super cheap way to recur creatures, and with all the ways to cheaply gain life in this format, I think this card is just ripe for many decks, especially some of the ones that Trevor plays.
The art makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Hey, look, they're vampires that don't have flying.
But they have menace because they're showing their teeth.
They look quite menacing.
It's going to take 2 of you to block me. Oh.
Trying to block me now.
I love some Strixhaven study groups are more welcoming than others.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll get you.
Yeah.
Witch's Clinic is next. It's a land. It taps for a colorless mana, and you can pay 2. Target commander gains lifelink until end of turn.
Yes.
So
it's what I have needed always.
Yeah, great in a life gain deck, obviously, but I think also really good in a Voltron deck. A lot of they're depending on the Voltron strategy you're playing with. If it's the good old fashioned make the creature really really big and swing for the fences, that doesn't always involve giving the creature a lifelink. So this is a great way to deal with people, your opponent's attacking you with an army of creatures. If you have a big fatty that's swinging at people, not only are you doing commander damage, but you're also gaining a bunch of life, and that's going to help you with the snapback. You also have other enchantments like Ghostly Prison, for example, that we've mentioned on this episode a couple of times now. But, this is just a little something extra to help keep you alive a little longer while you're making yourself the biggest target at the table. And, if you can afford the utility land slot, I say give it a try.
What about in Kozilek?
Oh, yeah. No doubt. A waste? Get out of here. Witch's Clinic's taking your place. You're done.
You're done.
You're done. That's gonna bring the waste number down to 5. So Wayfarer's Bauble is gonna be slim pickings.
It's just gravy now.
Oh yeah. Okay, so our last Witherbloom card is Eudora Grave Gardener. Oh, that sounds nice. It's 4 and a green for a 5/5 legendary treefolk druid. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may return it to the battlefield face down under its owner's control. It's a forest land.
Huh.
Yeah, super cool new design space, like making face down creatures into a different type of permanent.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and it's like, it's awesome, and it's also a May cause. So it's not just all of our creatures, so we never have like creatures in the graveyard again.
Yeah, and it's also, if there's some kind of mass land destruction spell, you can just blink them and they'll come back as creatures.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a really cool, unique card. I really like the design space that they went with Eudora.
Eudora. Moving on to the Lorehold deck. We're starting off with Alebo Ancient Witness. It's 3, a red, and a white for a 4/5 legendary artifact creature golem. Other artifact creatures you control have haste. Whenever one or more artifact creatures you control attacks, Alebo deals X damage to any target and use Scry X, where X is the number of tapped artifacts you control. I guess it would have been too much to, just have the static ability be artifact creatures you control have haste. But yeah, I think
to give it to Alebo itself.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Because then you could just attack, right, and activate the ability. But
yeah,
it's like Paco all over again.
Yeah, thinking about like why did that have haste? Like I love the card, but it's like and like that's one of the league decks that is gonna like stay in my collection. But why did it have haste? But like this, the all the artifact token generation, whether it's creatures or just artifacts, and something like inspiring statuary and just tapping your artifacts down, and you're dealing damage to any target, and then you're scrying X like this, and like scroll rack and a bit of an engine, like it's getting my juices going.
There you go.
Yeah, like this really reminds me of Mere Battlesphere. Just like it's really reminiscent of kind of what that card does.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. And you have that in the command zone. Like I actually really like this commander a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one I'm definitely more interested. I would definitely be more interested in building around this commander than the face commander for this deck.
Yeah,
I just love that
because then
you're any target clause. That's great.
Right? Yeah, like you're gonna be dishing out some damage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if you can do like extra combat steps, right? Like that's what red does best. So that's some pretty spicy stuff. Angel of Runes is next. It's 5 white for an artifact creature angel, 5/7 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to 2 target artifacts and or enchantments, and it has plane cycling for 2. I guess I put this on the list because I thought the only thing interesting about this card was the plane cycling. Otherwise, I don't really care for it.
Oh, I love this card. Are you kidding? This is a fantastic reanimation target.
Oh,
like,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it puts itself in the graveyard, gives you a plains of any type you want, notably, Kevin.
Oh, yeah, I like that. That's why I said it was interesting.
And then, bam, reanimate it, animate dead, whatever you got to do to blow up your opponent's soul rings and, carpet of flowers.
Carpet of flowers, get it. Yeah, no,
this
you're
also,
right. That's a good point.
Get around indestructible as well, too, though, because it's exiling, so that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Blink shenanigans, fun stuff.
All right, you changed my mind. It's not just the plane cycling that I like now. Archaeomancer's Map is next. It's 2 and a white for an artifact. Whenever it enters the battlefield, search your library for up to 2 basic plains cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, if that player controls more lands than you, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So this is the card I was referring to back when we were talking about that other white card that was 3 and a white.
Monologue Tax.
No, we're not at Monologue Tax yet. It was the creature.
Scholarship sponsor.
Yes, thank you.
Scholarship sponsor.
So this is I think this out of all the cards in the white ramp category, this is the one that I have the least disdain for. It lets you tutor up 2 basic planes, just straight up. You just get them.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gives you that kind of like pseudo burgeoning effect. And in a multiplayer format, burgeoning is so great in a multiplayer format. And this is going to be good too, because there's probably going to be somebody that's ramping, that's land ramping harder than you. At least I hope so. So yeah, this is I think this is a pretty cool card. And this is one of the like pricier new cards too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is.
Other people must think it's pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's cool giving white a burgeoning effect while tutoring out more lands. Like that's pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just the fact that you get to tutor. It's like Core Cartographer. You just get to tutor, no questions asked.
Yeah.
Audacious Reshapers is next. It's 2 and a red for a 3/3 human artificer. You can tap it to sacrifice an artifact, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an artifact card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Audacious Reshapers deals damage to you equal to the number of cards revealed this way.
Spin the wheel.
Yeah, I just remember this is just like a spell from Kaladesh, but now it's on a creature. So.
Yeah, it's like Madcap Experiment or something like that.
You got it. That's the card, yeah.
Yeah.
So now you got a Madcap just on a stick. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, get your Platinum Empyreons.
Yep.
Yeah, and with with the with the face commander of this deck, you want your artifacts in the graveyard, so it's pretty synergistic.
Yeah, or even just like sacrifice a treasure and go get some value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Battle Mage's Bracers is next. It's 2 and a red for an equipment. Equipped creature has haste. Whenever an ability of equipped creature is activated, if it isn't a mana ability, you may pay 1. If you do copy that ability, you may choose new targets for the copy. And the equip cost is 2.
I instantly thought of Brea when I saw this card.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, getting to double her ability. That's just for 1 extra mana. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me it's like a more efficiently costed illusionist bracers, but what you're trading off there is that you have to pay to copy, but also the overall cost of casting and equipping is less, and it gives haste.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
I think it's a pretty this is a really solid equipment in the right deck. That deck being Brea. Bronze Guardian is next. It's 4 and a white for a star 5 artifact creature golem. It has double strike and ward 2. Other artifacts you control have ward 2. That's nice. And its power is equal to the number of artifacts you control.
It's like a shambling suit with double strike and ward for everything.
Yeah, that is really nice,
giving
giving ward to everything. But and like that's a cornerstone of white in the color pie is that protection type of effect. And in it, you start playing an artifact deck, and at least I do, and I always think of the Vandal Blasts, and this is just going to give you a couple of extra turns before that happens, so that's nice.
Yeah.
Cursed Mirror is next. It's 2 and a red for an artifact that taps for a red mana, and as it enters the battlefield, you may have it become a copy of any creature on the battlefield until end of turn, except it has haste. So, going back to what we were saying about 3 mana artifacts and needing to have a little something extra, I agree with what you guys were saying about that, because I feel like every time they print a 2 mana artifact that is just a solid 2 mana artifact, like Arcane Signet is a great example, it just shelves a bunch of 3 mana artifacts that only tap for mana, and they just don't see play after that. But to have these 3 CMC mana rocks, they do need to have a little something extra, and this thing is super spicy. It comes into sort of like a Phyrexian Metamorph. It comes into play. It can become a copy of any creature. Well, it's like a clone, because Phyrexian Metamorph can become a copy of a creature or an artifact. But it gives it haste if it has activated abilities. You can use them. If it's a big, beefy chonk, you can attack with it. And if you can bounce this back to your hand, cast it again, or if you can blink it. I think this is such a solid mana rock. It's just like talk about giving a mana rock a little something extra.
Yeah, I just love the idea of your mana rock having like a creature's ETB.
yeah, this is such a cool card.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Evacuation Technique. It's 3 and a white for a sorcery. It has Demonstrate. Destroy target non-land permanent. Its controller creates 2 treasure tokens. So far, I think this is my favorite of the Technique cycle, because you can use it politically. I mean, obviously this whole cycle is political, but when it comes to removal, I feel like things are often more clear cut. You're destroying a non-land permanent, you're copying it, destroying another, you're choosing somebody, they're destroying another, and they're just getting some treasures. It's not like it's going to reshape the game too much with the benefit from this card. So I like it, and you can just ask somebody. It's like, look, I have Evacuation Technique. I'm gonna blow up a couple of things. What are you gonna blow up? You're not gonna blow up anything on my board, right? It's because I'm choosing you. You know, it's the whole thing.
Exactly.
So yeah,
It's the deal.
This card just seems very, very clean to me. I may be having too much. You know, maybe it's been too long since I sat down and played Paper Magic with strangers, and I forget how difficult it is to make deals. That could be a possibility, but I feel like this card is just in the abstract, it's definitely my favorite of this cycle.
Yeah, I think like the way to look, like, you are paying 4 mana to get rid of 3 problems on the board. That's like, you're gonna do that every time, most likely.
Well, you're paying like no mana if you copy it, right? Because you get 4 treasures.
No, the treasures go to the destroyed target permanent.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they're getting the treasures. Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah.
That would have been really good.
It's still my favorite.
You could always blow up your own stuff.
That's fair.
You could blow up.
Really need some mana.
You could blow up a treasure and get 2.
There you go.
Okay.
Lelia, the Blade Reforged, is next. It's 2 and a red for a 2/2 legendary Spirit Warrior with haste. When it attacks, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. Whenever you exile 1 or more cards from your library and or your graveyard, put a 1/1 counter on Layla. Layla, rock lady.
This is like getting this down in the early game is pretty sweet because obviously you have the play clause to get lands out of your deck and stuff. So I like this card.
Yeah, just a nice aggressive commander that can generate its own card advantage. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what you want.
Yeah.
You want from a commander, you either want card advantage, mana ramp, or protection. And I think in that order. At least for me. Lorehold Clockwork Scholar is next. It's 2 and a white for a 2/4 legendary Elephant Artificer. Prevent all combat damage that will be dealt to attacking artifact creatures you control. And whenever 1 or more artifact creatures enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. I guess they didn't want to make it too good. So yeah, protection and card draw. You know, what do you want? Like, what did I just say?
Yeah,
exactly.
And like, Lorehold goes so well with Alebo.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Like,
yeah,
hand in hand, that is such a nice little combo on the board.
That's exactly what we want. Absolutely. Monologue Tax is next. It's 2 and a white for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, you create a treasure token. So I'm not really like sold on this card, but what do you guys think?
Well, I think we talked about it a little bit on a previous episode.
I think we did.
Did we talk about it on the episode?
I think we may have.
Yeah.
I think we got a little sidetracked.
I think we did. We totally did.
We definitely did.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
But I like it. I think, like, you know, given that we're in a multiplayer format and people are inherently like, if your deck is working as intended, you're likely double spelling, and just getting like incidental treasures every cycle of a turn. I think is going to be a nice form of ramp for white. Like, I'd be particularly interested in something like using Monologue Tax in either like mono white or like a Boros style of deck, something that doesn't have access to more reliable ramp. But I think like it's not necessarily in the same realm as Smothering Tithe by any means, but it's I think more in the realm of like a cultivate type of effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like unlike the this isn't going to be a big target either, because you're going to get a little bit of incidental value here and there. So I think you can pretty much bet on this card sticking most of the time.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like, you know, it can sit. Again, I looked at this card and I thought about the worst case scenario, but you know, think about how much, think about that audible groan we all make when somebody, plays like an arcane laboratory and we're like, 1 spell a turn. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a fair point. I don't think I was giving this card a fair shake.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Ruin Grinder. It's 5 and a red for a 7/4 artifact creature construct with menace. When it dies, each player may discard their hand and draw 7 cards. and it has mountain cycling for 2.
Yeah. I do like the land cycling cards because we have the added benefit of getting a land out of our deck. But I love wheeling, so let's wheel.
Wheeling is fun. Wheeling is fun.
I mean, put a wheel on a 7/4.
Why not?
There you go.
With Menache.
That's right. Triplicate Titan is next. It's 9 mana for 9/9 artifact creature golem, flying, vigilance, trample. When it dies, create a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token with flying, a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token with vigilance, and a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token with trample. So this is either...
Oh man, I did not see that last one having trample.
This is either like a poor man's Wormcoil Engine or like Wormcoil Engine's older brother.
Yo, kid, I heard you like golems, so I put a golem in your golem so you can golem while you golem.
But yeah, this is a great...
I mean, Golem Tribal. There you go.
Yeah, Golem Tribal, or you know, with Oscar, you just bring this back, or sacrifice one of the tokens. You just get more 3/3s.
More value.
Yeah, more value card here.
Value City.
And lastly, in the Lorehold deck, we have Wake the Past. It's 5 red-white for a sorcery. Return all artifact cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. They gain haste until end of turn. I'm a big, I'm a big fan of open the vaults or replenish for enchantments. But the best part about this versus a card like open the vaults is this is not symmetrical and everything gains haste. Like this card is kind of nuts. It's 7, it is 7 mana, but still, like this is, if I end up piloting the Lorehold deck, this is a card that I feel is going to be a mainstay the entire league.
Yeah, that's a finisher.
Yeah.
Oh man, my Soul Ring will have haste.
I can tap it faster.
No.
Yeah, that'll be our. We should release a second show. Turn 1 Soul Ring with haste. So moving on to the Quandrix deck, the last deck here. First card is Commander's Insight. It's X blue for an instant. Target player draws X cards plus an additional card for each time they've cast a commander from the command zone this game. So I like that they put a commander because if you're doing partners, it takes care of that. I've always been a fan of these cards that care about how many times you've cast your commander from the command zone.
Yeah, I think I would only run this in a partner commander deck.
Yeah, or a commander with low CMC.
Yeah,
that you expect to
low CMC.
Yeah, definitely. Or
It's nice that it's kind of like a Blue Sun's Zenith that gets like incidentally discounted the more you cast your commander. Like even casting your commander once and then having a Blue Sun Zenith that costs 1 less, like that's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's funny because I immediately I have in my notes after this card just run Blue Sun Zenith. Literally, so it's just funny that we both thought of the same card.
Actually, the good part about this card is that it has instant. So
exactly,
because Blue Sun's is sorcery and stuff like that. So being able to hold up counter spells or whatever else you have is nice. Isn't Blue Sun sorcery?
I thought it was an instant. Sorry.
I know Stroke of Genius is an instant. I always sort of compare
Stroke
those
of
two.
Genius is instant. Oh, Blue Sun's is instant. I'm wrong. Don't listen to me. I don't play blue ever. Moving on.
Okay, so Curiosity Crafter is next. It's 3 and a blue for a 3/3 bird wizard with flying. You have no maximum hand size, and whenever a creature token you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card.
Sweet.
Cards like this are so nuts. Like you could just get so many little creatures that are getting in for combat damage, and every single one is drawing you a card. This is like giving me Edric tingles.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Play like the Locust God.
Ugh, yeah.
Oh,
so good in that deck. So good.
Damn. Oh my god. Yes.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Good card.
Yeah. Just straight up good card. Next up is Dika, Fractal Theorist. It's 4 and a blue for a 3/3 legendary human wizard. It has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put X 1/1 counters on it, where X is that spell's mana value. And then you can pay 3 and a blue. Target creature token can't be blocked this turn.
So this is totally like a metallurgic summonings on a creature.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that evasion ability is kind of like just gravy. Like it might come
that
up.
as well. Yeah. Totally. Also, I like how Dika's just like totally flexing. Like, got this fractal horse sitting on, and then has like a bird on the arm as well. Like, what?
It's like, I don't even need this bird, but I got it.
Yeah.
Essex Fractal Bloom is next. It's 4 green blue for a 4/4 legendary fractal with flying. The first time you would create 1 or more tokens during each of your turns, you may instead choose a creature other than Essex Fractal Bloom and create that many tokens that are copies of that creature. It's a lot going on here. A lot of opportunity for just a lot of shenanigans.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This is a very fun creature.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Works well with like Master of Waves or Avenger of Zendikar.
Oh yeah, Avenger of Zendikar.
Yeah,
Get
you need
in
to
here.
crack out the calculator at that point.
Yeah. Do you need to borrow my bag of dice as well? Yeah, that's the situation.
Probably.
Yeah. I'm gonna run upstairs. I'm gonna get the container.
Yeah.
Fractal Harness is next. It's X 2 green for an equipment. Whenever it enters the battlefield, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put X 1/1 counters on it and attach Fractal Harness to it. Whenever equipped creature attacks, double the number of 1/1 counters on it, and the equip cost is 2. I always love equipments that just equip without paying. You just have to do something that you're already doing anyway, and you just get to equip.
Yeah, if you care about doubling counters.
Right? Yeah, I was wondering how well this would, like, the mana cost is a little high for Animar, but I was wondering how it would work in that deck.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Would you need it? Like, I feel
that's what I was saying. You know, like
I think Animar is pretty good. Like, you wouldn't necessarily want a random equipment where you could have just like a nice cheap creature or like a combo.
To just get another counter.
Yeah, like a combo enabler. So I don't know if you'd necessarily need it in Animar, but like anything
Hydra
where you're
deck.
trying to double up your counters or make some big dummies with counters, like, I think this is going to be a nice little role player.
Hydras.
Yeah, Hydras for sure.
I always wanted to build a Hydra deck, but then my dad got a job.
Yeah.
Woo!
Got him.
Nice. Okay, next up we have Guardian Augmenter. It's 2 and a green for a 2/2 troll wizard with flash. Commander creatures you control get +2/+2, and commander creatures you control have hexproof. Interesting little sort of. I'm looking at this as more of a protection spell, whether it's a minus type board wipe or just a like a targeted removal type of spell. But it's always cool to see cards that care about commanders, and in this situation, partner commanders.
Well, and this reminds me, I can't remember the name of the card, but there's a white version of this card that gives your commander indestructible.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That card shows up on a lot of like Narset deck lists when you're looking up Narset, and it's like, you can't hit that off of Narset. Why are you running that?
But yeah, just a nice little utility creature.
Yeah, and that
buffs
card,
your commander.
Yeah, and that card too is from a commander set, obviously, because like cards like this are from commander sets or commander legends. Like that's what we're looking at here.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
it'd be weird in standard.
Yeah,
just a 3-mana 2/2.
Bastion Protector.
Yeah,
there you go.
C15.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there was a whole there was a cycle of those in that set. You know, like one of them gave it like haste and like buffs and things like that. 2015, good year. Wasn't a pandemic, so good year.
Good year.
Next up, we have Oversimplify. It's 3 green-blue for sorcery. Exile all creatures. Each player creates a 0/0 green and blue fractal token, creature token, and puts a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the total power of creatures they controlled that were exiled this way. So Simic needed a board wipe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, green really can't do enough. So you know.
Yeah. But you know what? But truthfully though, what I do like about this card and why I feel like it's fair is, well, firstly it's a sorcery, and secondly, you know, you have to deal with the snapback with this card, right? Because you cast this, and you know you have your token, but if you don't have a lot of creatures and you're not getting a big fat token, you can't really use it to block. Maybe you can block the first one, but
then you got 2 other opponents swinging at you.
Exactly. Like you have to deal with the creature tokens that are then going to be coming after you. So I like that I can put a board wipe in my Simic decks, but you know, I also like that it sort of feels balanced in that regard. I'll definitely have to play it and see how balanced it really is, and it's really going to depend on the type of decks people are playing, but
And I can really see this making like a really funny board state, because it's like, what if everyone had a lot of creatures? Everyone has like a 30 whatever. Who's going to want to attack somebody? Are you going to want to pump it up and give a trample to get through?
Yeah, you're going to want to leave yourself open.
You can get, right?
Yeah,
like everyone just has one giant dummy on the board.
That's true. Yeah, hopefully you have a way to give it vigilance. That's all I can say.
There you go. Yeah,
that's true. Because it's also going to come down to like, okay, like the person who cast Oversimplify, I don't like them for what they did, but this guy's wide open, and my token is big enough to kill them, so I think I should just go for it.
Right. Also, this exiles all the creatures, so
that's nice.
That's always a nice upside
definitely a big
too.
plus.
Yeah.
Perplexing Test is next. It's 3 blue for an instant. Choose one. Return all creature tokens to their owner's hands, or return all non-token creatures to their owner's hands. So I'm a big fan of Evacuation. I think it's an underplayed blue board wipe. It's also great for saving your creatures in the event of a board wipe. But this is sort of like both a better and a worse one, because it gives you that flexibility. But what's great about Evacuation is when you bounce all the creatures, if somebody's playing a token heavy deck, they're fucked. So, you know, I think this is a really cool card. I really like it. I really like that they didn't change the mana cost. They didn't change the card type. And they gave you that option, but you know, for me, I think I'm just gonna stick with Evacuation. I think obviously in a token deck, you're gonna want to run this, but otherwise, I think you know, I prefer Evacuation.
Yeah, that's fair. I definitely think it has its place, and I think given that, like, I definitely appreciate the design where it's like, this doesn't fit in every deck. This fits in decks where you can likely use it to your advantage, but that's not going to be every deck, and I appreciate that kind of thought as opposed to Arcane Signet, where, you know, this goes in every single deck.
Dude, I have Arcane Signet in, I think, every single Commander deck, even the monocolored decks, and you know how many monocolored decks I have.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's just a 2 mana rock. Like, it's good.
No, it's a better Felwar Stone.
Yeah, it's the Felwar Stone that is guaranteed to tap for relevant mana. One thing that's kind of interesting, like, obviously it makes sense as far as the rules go, but return all creature tokens to their owner's hand. It's just so interesting to see a statement like that.
Yeah, it is.
Because
it's weird templating.
You know, like, obviously the tokens disappear as soon as they touch your hand, but like, for new players, that could all like be a little bit confusing. So
they're like, do I get to put the tokens in my hand?
Yeah.
Do I get to play them for free? How does this work?
Yeah.
Yes, Billy. Yes. You done good, kid. Replication Technique is next. It's 4 and a blue for a sorcery. It has Demonstrate. This is our last technique today. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control.
Sweet.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to copy my Panharmonicon.
I'm going to copy my Ristic Study.
I'm going to copy... I don't know. This is like Christmas where you don't know which present to open first.
Do you want to pay 3?
Okay, next up we have Ruxa, Patient Professor. It's 2 and 2 green for a 4/4 legendary creature, Bear Druid. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, return target creature card with no abilities from your graveyard to your hand. Creatures you control with no abilities get +1/+1. You may have creatures you control with no abilities assign their combat damage as though they weren't blocked.
Thorn Elemental.
Yeah, I know, right? This is so cool. Honestly, it's like there's an enchantment that was from Future Sight that gave all creatures with no abilities +2/+2. So this is giving me those kind of vibes where it's like vanilla all the way, but works really well with tokens. Like most
a lot of tokens are vanilla.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're looking to go wide and use Ruxa as your commander, like that could be an interesting space to explore.
Yeah, I really like this card. It's an interesting space, and it's funny as a commander for sure.
It's a bear druid.
Yeah. It's a bear that's not a 2/2.
It's a bear that's not vanilla, yeah, but it cares about vanilla bears.
Spawning Kraken is next. It's 5 and a blue for a 6/6 Kraken. When a Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus, or Serpent you control deals combat damage to a player, create a 9/9 blue Kraken creature token.
Yep. Yeah. Just keep doing it.
People with this big creature, and I get a 9/9.
When that 9/9 hits somebody, you get another 9/9.
I just think this card is actually so funny. Oh
yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
It's like I just dropped this big dumb 9/9.
Yeah. I mean, it has no evasion, but like if anything gets through, you're pretty much messed up.
Good stuff.
And our last card today is Theoretical Duplication. It's 2 and a blue for an instant. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control this turn, create a token that's a copy of that creature.
Again, this is a really interesting card, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, if someone plays something real good, you're like, ooh, I'll have that.
Yeah, I'll get on that. Don't mind if I do.
And then if it's like the beginning of their turn, they may not want to cast any more creatures as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I guess it's whenever, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
so
turn.
it lasts the whole turn.
Oh, that's spicy. That makes me like it even more. I thought it was just once. I thought it was a one-shot thing. That's cool.
And with that, we're going to bring this review to a close. If there were any cards from the Strixhaven C21 set that we didn't talk about in this episode that you're excited about, you can tell us all about that in the comment section below, or you can DM us on Instagram or anywhere else that Eric outlined at the top of the show. We're going to be back next week to spotlight a legend from Strixhaven and give it the full Decksplain treatment. Until then, we have a pretty large library of episodes at this point that you can check out if you haven't already. We're on all the major podcast platforms, and like Eric said at the top of the show, we're also on YouTube. And if you're looking for something to listen to as you're nodding off to sleep, I especially like our ongoing lore series. If you've ever wanted to know more about the story of Magic, the story behind the cards, those episodes are great for that. And thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Hey, Riley, I do have to say, like when you said the Ristic Study thing, like I'm still laughing. Like I could just see in a game, gonna pay 3? Gonna pay 3? Like
it's like no, absolutely not.
It's like it's so good.
All right, everybody.
Sorry.
Bye now.
I'll see you.
Turn 1 Soul Ring.
So I guess with like Modern Horizons, they're gonna do regular full art and then like old border.
It seems to be like some sort of mix. Like if it's not old border, then it's gonna be like some sort of alternate art, no border thing, like the counterspell, or Urza's Saga, which is like the sketch.
All the fetch lands have full and old.
Oh yeah, I guess that's right, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, eh?
Oh, that's good. Oh,
Yeah,
hey.
eh?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Guardian Augmenter. It's 2 and a green for a 2/2 troll wizard with flash. Commander creatures you control get +2/+2, and commander creatures you control have hexproof. Interesting little sort of. I'm looking at this as more of a protection spell, whether it's a minus type board wipe or just a like a targeted removal type of spell. But yeah, it's always cool to see cards that care about commanders, and in this situation, partner commanders.
Well, and this reminds me, I can't remember the name of the card, but there's a white version of this card that gives your commander indestructible.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That card shows up on a lot of like Narset deck lists when you're looking up Narset, and it's like, you can't hit that off of Narset. Why are you running that?
But yeah, just a nice little utility creature.
Yeah, and that
buffs
card,
your commander.
yeah, and that card too is from a commander set, obviously, because like cards like this are from commander sets or commander legends. Like that's what we're looking at here.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
It'd be weird in standard.
Yeah,
just a 3-mana 2/2.
Bastion Protector.
Yeah,
there
from
you go.
C15.
That's
you
right.
go.
Yeah, and there was a whole there was a cycle of those in that set. Like one of them gave it like haste and like buffs and things like that. 2015, good year. Wasn't a pandemic, so good year.
Good year.
Next up, we have Oversimplify. It's 3 green-blue for sorcery. Exile all creatures. Each player creates a 0/0 green and blue fractal token, creature token, and puts a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the total power of creatures they controlled that were exiled this way. So Simic needed a board wipe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, green really can't do enough. So know.
Yeah. But you know what? But truthfully though, what I do like about this card and why I feel like it's fair is, well, firstly, it's a sorcery, and secondly, you have to deal with the snapback with this card, right? Because you cast this, and you have your token, but if you don't have a lot of creatures and you're not getting a big fat token, you can't really use it to block. Maybe you can block the first one, but
then you got 2 other opponents swinging at you.
Exactly. Like you have
token.
to deal with the creature tokens that are then going to be coming after you. So I like that I can put a board wipe in my Simic decks, but I also like that it sort of feels balanced in that regard. I'll definitely have to play it and see how balanced it really is, and it's really going to depend on the type of decks people are playing, but
and I can really see this making like a really funny board state, because it's like, what if everyone had a lot of creatures? Everyone has like a 30 whatever. Who's going to want to attack somebody? Are you going to want to pump it up and give it trample to get through?
Yeah, you're going to want to leave yourself open.
You can get, right?
Yeah,
like everyone just has one giant dummy on the board.
That's true. Yeah, hopefully you have a way to give it vigilance. That's all I can say.
There you go.
Yeah, that's true. Because it's also going to come down to like, okay, like the person who cast Oversimplify, I don't like them for what they did, but this guy's wide open, and my token is big enough to kill them, so I think I should just go for it.
Right? Also, this exiles all the creatures, so
that's nice.
That's always a nice upside
definitely a big
too.
plus.
Yeah.
Perplexing Test is next. It's 3 blue for an instant. Choose one. Return all creature tokens to their owner's hands, or return all non-token creatures to their owner's hands. So I'm a big fan of Evacuation. I think it's an underplayed blue board wipe. It's also great for saving your creatures in the event of a board wipe. But this is sort of like both a better and a worse one, because it gives you that flexibility. But what's great about Evacuation is when you bounce all the creatures, if somebody's playing a token heavy deck, they're fucked. So, I think this is a really cool card. I really like it. I really like that they didn't change the mana cost. They didn't change the card type. And they gave you that option, but for me, I think I'm just going to stick with Evacuation. I think obviously in a token deck, you're going to want to run this, but otherwise, I think I prefer Evacuation.
Yeah, that's fair. I definitely think it has its place, and I think given that, like, I definitely appreciate the design where it's like, this doesn't fit in every deck. This fits in decks where you can likely use it to your advantage. but that's not going to be every deck. And I appreciate that kind of thought as opposed to Arcane Signet, where, you know, this goes in every single deck.
Dude, I have Arcane Signet in, I think, every single Commander deck, even the monocolored decks. And you know how many monocolored decks I have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just a 2-mana rock.
Yeah.
Like, it's good.
No, it's a better Felwar Stone.
Yeah, it's the Felwar Stone that is guaranteed to tap for relevant mana.
That's absurd.
One thing that's kind of interesting, like, obviously it makes sense as far as the rules go, but return all creature tokens to their owner's hand. It's just so interesting to see a statement like that.
Yeah, it is.
Because
it's weird
like,
templating.
You know, like, obviously the tokens disappear as soon as they touch your hand, but like for new players, that could all like be a little bit confusing. So
they're like, do I get to put the tokens in my hand?
Yeah.
Do I get to play them for free? How does this work?
Yeah.
Yes, Billy. Yes. You done good, kid. Replication Technique is next. It's 4 and a blue for a sorcery. It has Demonstrate. This is our last technique today. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control.
Sweet.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna copy my Panharmonicon.
I'm gonna copy my Ristic Study.
I'm going to copy I don't know. This is like Christmas where you don't know which present to open first.
Do you want to pay 3?
Okay, next up we have Ruxa Patient Professor. It's 2 and 2 green for a 4/4 legendary creature bear druid. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, return target creature card with no abilities from your graveyard to your hand. Creatures you control with no abilities get +1/+1. You may have creatures you control with no abilities assign their combat damage as though they weren't blocked.
Thorn Elemental.
Yeah, I know, right? This is so cool. Honestly, it's like, there's an enchantment that was from Future Sight that gave all creatures with no abilities +2/+2. So this is giving me those kind of vibes where it's like vanilla all the way, but works really well with tokens. Like most tokens,
a lot of tokens are vanilla.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're looking to go wide and use Ruxa as your commander, like that could be an interesting space to explore.
Yeah, I really like this card. It's an interesting space, and it's funny as a commander for sure.
It's a bear druid.
Yeah. It's a bear that's not a 2/2.
It's a bear that's not vanilla, yeah, but it cares about vanilla bears.
Spawning Kraken is next. It's 5 and a blue for a 6/6 Kraken. When a Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus, or Serpent you control deals combat damage to a player, create a 9/9 blue Kraken creature token.
Yep. Yeah.
It's
just keep doing it.
People with this big creature, and I get a 9/9.
When that 9/9 hits somebody, you get another 9/9.
I just think this card is actually so funny. Oh
yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
It's like I just dropped this big dumb 9/9.
Yeah. I mean, it has no evasion, but like if anything gets through, you're pretty much messed up.
Good stuff.
And our last card today is Theoretical Duplication. It's 2 and a blue for an instant. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control this turn, create a token that's a copy of that creature.
Again, this is a really interesting card, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, if someone plays something real good, you're like, ooh, I'll have that.
Yeah, I'll get on that. Don't mind if I do.
And then if it's like the beginning of their turn, they may not want to cast any more creatures as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I guess it's whenever, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
so
turn.
it lasts the whole turn.
Oh, that's spicy. That makes me like it even more. I thought it was just once. I thought it was a one-shot thing. That's cool.
And with that, we're going to bring this review to a close. If there were any cards from the Strixhaven C21 set that we didn't talk about in this episode that you're excited about, you can tell us all about that in the comment section below, or you can DM us on Instagram or anywhere else that Eric outlined at the top of the show. We're going to be back next week to spotlight a legend from Strixhaven and give it the full Decksplain treatment. Until then, we have a pretty large library of episodes at this point that you can check out if you haven't already. We're on all the major podcast platforms, and like Eric said at the top of the show, we're also on YouTube. And if you're looking for something to listen to as you're nodding off to sleep, I especially like our ongoing lore series. If you've ever wanted to know more about the story of Magic, the story behind the cards, those episodes are great for that. And thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Hey, Riley, I do have to say, like, when you said the Ristic Study thing, like, I'm still laughing. Like, I could just see in a game, gonna pay 3? Gonna pay 3? Like,
it's like, no, absolutely not.
It's like, it's so good.
All right, everybody.
Sorry.
Bye now.
I'll see you.
Turn 1 Soul Ring.
So I guess with like Modern Horizons, they're gonna do regular full art and then like old border.
Seems to be like some sort of mix. Like if it's not old border, then it's gonna be like some sort of alternate art, no border thing, like the counter spell, or Urza's Saga, which is like the sketch.
All the fetch lands have full and old.
Oh yeah, I guess that's right, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, eh?
Oh, that's good. Oh,
Yeah,
hey.
eh?
Oh, fuck yeah, eh?